much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of New Jersey. This is season 13, episode 6, and it was a pretty decent episode, so let's get into it. So the episode opens up, and we see Teresa in counseling. She's actually having another session, and in that moment, they're talking about boys night. So I guess her previous session, she was worried about how boys night was going to go with Louis going there and how Joe and Teresa haven't been really cool or nothing like that. And so she was just saying how, her brother's outbursts scare her. And I thought it was crazy because she's saying that her brother's outbursts scare her and make her uncomfortable. And then later on in the episode, when they all are doing the charity baseball, I was about to say basketball, baseball tournament, Joe says the same thing when she walks in, when he was like, my sister is unpredictable and I don't want to fight with her. And he was like, that makes me uncomfortable. And it's like, I keep telling y'all, Joe and Teresa are the same person. And it's crazy that they don't realize how much trauma they took on from their father in their childhood, because you have them you have Teresa basically telling us, my dad, when he felt like he was right, he held on to it. You couldn't change his mind. We see that in Joe and Teresa. They talked about how she talked about how, he never said I love you. And the only reason why he started saying I love you in his later years is because Teresa prompted Gia to start speaking to him that way. And then he started to say it a lot more. They talked about how he would throw things at them when he would get angry. And it's crazy because in their mind, they're like, oh, that's the Italian way. But you could also say that in the Black community, because there's certain things that we do that is we shouldn't be doing, especially when it comes to child rearing or being parents in children's situation. And it was just kind of wow, y'all don't even see how badly y'all were traumatized by what happened when y'all were kids. Y'all laugh it off, or y'all just try to say, well, that's our tradition, when you think about it, it ain't good for y'all, okay? Y'all got problems. But Teresa also talked about how, she doesn't want her kids not to grow up without their cousins. And she talks about how Antonia had her Sweet 16 and everybody came. When Melania had hers, Antonia didn't come. She went to a cheerleading event, and they kind of felt like that was on purpose, which I can understand. Especially as a kid, you feeling that way. You went to a cheerleading event and didn't come to my Sweet 16 and I came to yours. But as an adult, I wouldn't put that in my child's head. So I was just kind of girl, no ma'am. So we then see this scene, at the end of the event, not the event, but at the end of the counseling session, the therapist basically said, you might have to basically start setting boundaries where you don't let that encroach upon your space anymore. And the crazy thing is, they need to. They should have been and did this. Honestly, Joe and Teresa should have went to family therapy, in their 20s and 30s. And that's the downside of when you grow up in a culture. And I can speak about, because it happens in the Black culture, where people act like therapy is so wrong, when honestly, if you would have got therapy in your 20s and maybe your early 30s, then moving forward onward to your 50s and 60s and your 40s and even in your 30s, you could live a life that isn't bogged down by the things that have happened to you when you were a lot younger. We then see a scene with Margaret. So I know Margaret hates the fact that she fell at that skating rink, because we see her actually getting surgery. So I guess she tells Jennifer Fessler, because Jennifer Fessler comes over to her house after she's out of surgery. And we find out that they had to re-break her arm, probably to reset it and align all the bones. I wonder if she has metal. She probably doesn't have metal rods in her arm though, because we would have saw it. But they had to reset and realign her bones. And I know she hates that. I'll give Jennifer Fessler a point, because I will say she checked Margaret, and I was glad that someone told Margaret about herself, because I think it needed to happen. It needed to happen. I know a lot of people goes up for Miss Margaret, and I told y'all, I ain't got no problem with Trout Mouth. I ain't got no problems. She get on my nerves, but I enjoy her on the show. Honestly, I really, truly do. But I was glad that Jennifer Fessler was actually being a real life friend, because oftentimes on these reality shows, we have people that are in alliances, or they're reality TV friends where there's an understanding that we don't go after each other, or we don't check each other, even though we know that they're wrong. And Jennifer Fessler basically told Margaret, girl, you were acting like a 16-year-old, and and I don't like it. I ain't like who I saw at my table at my house, and you need to do something about it. And Margaret was really, I was kind of surprised that Margaret was like, but did you hear what she said to me? And I didn't expect that from Margaret. I kind of expect Margaret to kind of like eat it because Margaret tries to act like she's so much mature than Jennifer. So I was expecting her to have like some moral high ground where she's like, she just took me there, but I won't never go there again. But Margaret was really like, but no, she said this to me. That's why I told y'all Margaret and Jennifer are the same thing, same person, because Margaret is just an older version of Jennifer. Because Margaret was sitting there really trying to like argue her point, or we're not really argue, but like prove her point to Jennifer Fessler. And Jennifer was like, nah, girl, you looked a fool. You looked a mess. And I thought it was funny. But Margaret basically said at the baseball, because they're having the charity event that Dolores always has with the hospital to raise money, that like she's going to just ignore Jennifer and she's not going to do that because it's a charity event. So we then see Jennifer and Bill, and they're sitting down beside the pool. We see the kids actually doing their chores. I said, come on, work for your money. And Jennifer starts to talk about what Margaret said, and you can visibly see that Bill is kind of like in and out of this conversation. He's kind of laughing, he's kind of not. The only time his ears kind of went up is when Jennifer tells Bill that Margaret called her a disheveled drug addict, and he was like, "Ugh." Like it kind of like he kind of was like, pause, okay, that's a bit much, but he kind of did seem out of it. And Jennifer was just like, you know what? I'm going to just pay her dust at the charity event because it's charity. But she was just kind of like, I don't know how to I think Jennifer's mindset is like, hey, although like I told you we was moving on, we've moved on, but I still hate your ass. I think that's just the energy. Like I still just, I hate you, but we moved on, but I hate you though. I think that's her energy. Right, so the next scene we see is of Dolores and her dad and Paulie. So they're at Paulie's house. Paulie pretty much is making fun of Dolores's BBL about how it saved her life because I guess she slipped in the bathtub or in the shower and it like her booty saved her. But Dolores's BBL is amazing. Like her BBLs is like, I will say is one of the best BBLs I have seen on like reality stars. Hers and even Nene's. Even though Nene be trying to act like she ain't got work done, but Nene's looks good. Like it looks good for their age. In the sense of I'm saying like they actually paid actual coins, the good coins, because they make it when you got the coins. But they pay good money for their BBLs because they don't look like you can like they give you the illusion that like I probably know for sure that's a BBL, but because it looks so good, I might be doubting myself. So we see Dolores' dad. He's just stopping by. And I like Dolores' dad. I think it's really sweet the way he likes Paulie. He likes that Paulie makes Dolores happy. And he thinks Paulie's a good guy. And I think it's nice to see like a dad and daughter together where they're just like talking, just shooting the shit, as people say, and just having a good conversation. And the daddy being like, I like him. He good for you. And you seem happy. We then find out Paulie's not going to be able to go to the baseball game because he has an irregular heartbeat, and so he's doing a procedure where I guess they're going to make sure like there's nothing wrong with like the valves or the chambers of his heart. And I don't know if they're going to like mess around in there, but either way, he said there's like a 90-something% chance that once they look in there that he shouldn't have it happen again and they should be good to go. We then have a scene of Rachel, her husband with the Beijing, Joe, and Melissa, and then Frank and his girlfriend. So they're at the batting cages and they're all just trying to warm up for the game. They bring up Paulie to Frank. Frank talks about how, it's uncomfortable because his dynamic with Dolores has changed and he doesn't really like it, but like it is what it is. The girlfriend even said it, at first you do feel insecure, but then when you realize that there's nothing going on between them, like they're really good friends. And Frank even says like, Dolores is one of the people that I love the most in this world. And he even says, he was like, I wasn't a good husband, but I was a good father. And he was like, I regret the way I treated Dolores. So it's like, I always want like, I guess in Frank's mind, I think he thinks like, I messed up to the point where we could never be husband and wife anymore. Like I did her so dirty, but like, at least when we're friends, I guess I can make it up to her by doing whatever she needs as a husband would do, but just in a friend role. But I think he's realizing that his position is being pushed away or diminished in some capacity because Paulie's there. And I told y'all I like Frank, but I also like the fact that Dolores has Paulie and she's getting her needs met in the sense of feeling like supported and feeling special by someone that she likes. I think that's important for women, to meet men that make them feel special, or women who have any other significant other to make them feel special. I think all women deserve that, the good ones. Because, we got some women out there that probably don't deserve it. So, they were like worried. At this time, they didn't know Paulie was coming to the game. Then Rachel getting on my nerves because Rachel can't hold water. It's like Rachel has a run-in with the other ladies from the other side, and then she immediately runs and tells everyone. And I'm like, Rachel, like, certain things you keep close to your chest. And I do think everybody's gonna come back because they just released the screenshots of the after show. And I think Jennifer and Danielle are paired up together. Then you have Jennifer Fessler and Jackie together. Margaret has her own picture by herself. Dolores and Teresa are together, and then Rachel and Melissa are together. And I feel if they're going to this extent to where they already have them on the after show, they're probably going to invite majority of the cast, or if not the whole cast, back. I'm surprised Jackie even got a what's it called? I'm surprised a friend of the shows. Like, I'm surprised that Jen Fessler and Jackie even got their own like segment for the after show. But I guess that means this is the group that they want to move with going forward as the seasons continue. So Rachel ends up telling Melissa that Teresa and Jennifer told her to, Margaret is a better friend than an enemy. And Melissa's like, see, I don't like that fake stuff. Because I told you she didn't really like Margaret like that. Teresa hates Margaret and she don't like me. Then she points to Joe and she's like, she don't like Joe. And my thing about this is, we've heard Melissa, Jackie, and Dolores say that Margaret is a better friend than an enemy. And I feel as though from Teresa and Jennifer's standpoint, they can say that. Like, Margaret outs that Bill had an affair. You have the whole situation with Louis and Margaret. And it's kind of like, and even when Margaret was like going off on Danielle, she poured a drink on that lady, pushed that lady's husband in the pool, threw a glass at that lady. It's kind of like they can say that. And I feel like Margaret knows she's a better friend than an enemy. I feel like Margaret secretly writes in her diary or tells everybody, or even tells her henchmen, her little minion Joe, these girls know I'm the queen. I know she do that. I know that lady be sitting at that house saying that mess. I know she do. So Rachel is like, ask Melissa, are you going to tell Margaret? And she was like, yeah. And she was like, but I wonder how she's going to feel. And Melissa says, I don't care. I'm like, clearly you do. It's time for the baseball game. A lot of people show up. We find out that they're going to be selling the sexy calendars of the guys. And, everyone's excited. I think this is really cool that Dolores has this charity event that they do every single season. I don't know if there's any other charity events that we've seen that they do every single season on the other Housewives. No, Kyle's thing on Beverly Hills where they, because we saw Jamie Lynn last time. Does anybody else have anything that they do? Yeah, I think it's only on Beverly Hills and on Jersey where there's an annual like event that we see them do and actually like raise money for different charity funds. I feel like that should be mandatory on every Housewives franchise, mainly because like some of these people have like a lot of wealth. It's like you might as well either donate or raise like an annual fund every year to help the people around you out, But everyone comes. They have their baseball jerseys, which I love a good baseball jersey. Which is crazy because I don't even think I have a baseball jersey, but I'm thinking about getting a few anime ones. I found a site on TikTok. Y'all don't care. But I found someone posted a site on TikTok with some really cool anime jerseys that I might cop one. But Medium Joe pissed me off because why are you cutting off the arms to your jersey? Is his arms that swole? I feel like he exaggerates. But we see Joey, little Joey, or like they bring their son. We see everyone pull up. Margaret, Danielle, and them have a conversation. By this time, Teresa nor Jennifer were there yet. And Rachel tells Margaret about what Teresa said about, a better friend than an enemy. Margaret kind of takes offense to it. She then tells Danielle, Jennifer's only saying this stuff because she's wounded. And she was like, when I argue with people, I move on. But then Jennifer says, she was like, I don't really want to argue with somebody. And then you throw on my dirt in my face. Like, I don't want none of that energy. Danielle was like, I don't want none of that. And she was just kind of like, I'm going to just have to trust my gut when it comes to this person. But yeah, I don't y'all argue and then y'all go directly for the gutter. And I don't need none of y'all throwing my family or any of my drama in my face. And I don't blame her. I would feel the same way. But if I was her, I would be looking at all of them like they was crazy. No, I'm not even going to lie. It's like we all sat at someone's table and watched them sling mud back and forth. And nobody really tried to stop it. I think Melissa told everyone, was like, okay, y'all, that's enough. But nobody at that table really tried to stop it. Everyone just kind of was looking at this is normal. And if I was Danielle or even Rachel or Jennifer Fessler, I'd be looking at all of these ladies like, I see you. I see you. So we finally see Bill and Jennifer get there. Jennifer ignores Margaret and was just like, it's whatever. Teresa comes in with, I think she brought, I don't know who she brought. I know she brought Gia. I think she brought Melania. Yeah, Melania and Gia go straight for Joey, their cousin, and they're happy to see him. And you could feel how awkward it was in the locker room. You could tell that Louis, Teresa, Gia, and Melania were trying to avoid Joe, Melissa, and Joey, and vice versa. Joe was trying to avoid Teresa, but Melissa took the initiative to go over and hug the girls. Then the girls saw their cousin, they hugged him. Teresa was being cordial. It's just awkward. And my thing about it is Melissa feels like Joe is a not Joe, but Louis is a manipulator. And I don't know about that. There is something about Louis that feels slippery. It feels you can't uneasy in the sense of you want to trust him because you want to see Teresa have her happiness because we've seen how her life has gone thus far. But then there's a part of you that feels yeah, there is something a little skewed about him. And I've seen a lot of people say that maybe they feel like Louis gives them a cleaned up version of a Joe Giudice. And I was like, I don't know. Maybe. But there is something about him, like I said, that it makes you tilt your head to the side and be like, But then I also look at Joe and Melissa, and oftentimes I feel like Melissa allows Joe to manipulate her, because there's been many of times in this season and last season where I can tell that Melissa kind of wants to move forward, but then Joe will have a freak out, and because she is his wife, or y'all know what I mean, because she's married to Joe, she kind of just ends up adopting his feelings, and then she explodes. So I feel like you can say that he's manipulating her, but it's you kind of get manipulated too, Melissa. Then we find out that the whole Jennifer's thing about telling Jennifer basically telling Melissa about the whole cheating thing, or how Margaret be telling you to go get with a baseball player, basically was a throwaway line. Margaret was like, me and Melissa are like this, and I was just telling Melissa when she was having a hard time with Joe, girl, you're beautiful, stop crying, you could have any baseball player, it's whatever. And so now it's just kind of a hee kind of joke between them, where they're laughing at Jennifer instead of with her. And like I told y'all in my last video, Jennifer needs to stop wanting to be friends with people who clearly don't like her. It's she wants to be cool with them, but you can tell, sis, they don't like you. So they end up winning the game, the actual charity event, and it was real cute. So, three things came out of the game or while the game was playing. We had Frank, Joey, Melissa, Rachel, and them trying to talk to Dolores about how Frank feels. And Frank pretty much says he missed Dolores. But I agree with Frank. Y'all not about to get, not Frank. I agree with Dolores when she says y'all are not about to guilt trip me into wanting to have wanting to like out of my happiness, pretty much. I feel like Dolores is owed being with Polly. And now I think Polly and Frank are actually in a good place because I've seen pictures of them hanging out together. So it's probably just like the beginning of the relationship was just uneasy because nobody really knew how to maneuver the role. But I don't fault Frank for saying how he felt, like being like, I do miss you, and it is kind of sad that we're not on the same page that we are. And I feel like it's better for you to say that to the person than to walk around telling everybody else how you feel, because then the person feels like you're talking about them. And that's kind of how Dolores feels about Jennifer. But I do feel like this was the right way of Frank being like, I do miss you. I think it was lame for Melissa to be like she was gonna cry, and I'm like, girl, these are not your parents having a divorce talk. Like, these are grown adults, your friends. If your girlfriend don't want to kick it with them, she ain't got to kick it with them. We then have a scene with Gia, and I guess in her confessional, she pretty much says she feels like Melissa is driving a wedge between her cousins, especially when she sees Joey and how they're not as close as she would like them to be. But I feel like, Gia, you're an adult. You're 21, 22. Like, if you want to talk to your cousins, I know all of y'all probably got iPhones. Hit up your cousins. I feel like y'all are taking on, like, Gia is starting to take on her mom's feelings. But then again, like I told y'all, if they've seen their family fight and argue, it's kind of hard to not repeat those patterns. So hopefully she won't repeat them. Hopefully they'll actually have a serious conversation where she will reach out to her siblings. Because it's kind of like, reach out to them, sis. If you want to have that relationship, reach out. And then the last scene is we see Rachel and Jennifer talking, and Rachel pretty much says, Olivia, because everyone's like, oh, some of their kids came, and they were like, Jennifer, like, did you bring any of your kids? And she was like, oh, I brung Olivia, she's my angel, we brung her. And Olivia's like hugging on Bill and stuff like that, and like just, all of, just being on her daddy. And Rachel tells Jennifer, she's like, Olivia kind of broke my heart because at Valentina's birthday party, I guess Rachel asked Olivia, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And Olivia was like, oh, I want to be a love therapist. And you could kind of see Jennifer like kind of crack a little bit, where she was just like, what? She ain't never told me that. And she was just kind of like, for real, like, she was like, that's the first time I'm hearing it, because normally when we ask her, she talks about wanting to be on the stage and wanting to be an actress, but I never heard about a love therapist. And then in her confessional, Jennifer talks about how, ever since the whole infidelity situation, when Bill and Jennifer start to argue, Olivia comes down and she's like, remember, you guys, y'all love each other. And she was just like, see. And I think that's why Jennifer's never going to be okay with Margaret. Like I said, she says she moved on, but she hate that lady. She hate that lady. And so we've in the scene where we end the episode with Jennifer and Bill going to therapy. And I think it was a good therapy session because I think Jennifer actually articulated how she felt very well, in my opinion. So we sit down and we see Dr. I think her name was like Judy, and Bill is there. Bill would get on my nerves too. Like, because Bill acts like he's so always silent, and I would be like, tell me how you feel. If you hate me, say you hate me. If you don't want to be in this relationship, say you don't want to be in this relationship anymore. Give me something. So they're sitting down, and the therapist does what they like, why are you here? And Jennifer basically says, somebody that we know outed that he had an affair. This affair happened 11 years ago. I was pregnant with my fourth child, and I just accepted it and I moved forward. She said, now it's coming. I'm dealing with all these emotions. She was just like, and now my kids, she was like, we told our oldest two kids, but our youngest daughter found out on TikTok. And she said, when it was brought to me, I basically told her, like, she was like, mommy, do all men cheat? And she was like, sometimes men make, people make mistakes. And she said, I couldn't say anything else because I had nothing else to say. And so she pretty much was like, I'm dealing with that. And then the therapist is like, Bill's been pretty quiet. And she's like, he always quiet. I said, oh, she getting tired of him. She was like, he's always quiet. And she just says, like, he was pretty much saying how, like, ever since the infidelity came out, he can't be as harsh or as pushy as he used to be as a father, because I guess they used to play good cop bad cop, where Jennifer is very like lax with how she parents her kids, and then Bill is the one that pushes them and tries to make them go harder. And now he wants Jennifer to do that because he can't really do that now because they know about the infidelity. So they kind of looking at him funny like, bro, how dare you tell us anything? You cheated on mommy, the good one. And she's kind of like, well, bro, I'm already doing everything by myself. Like, I'm one parent. I'm the primary parent of 5 children. You come home, you don't talk to anyone. You go straight to your to the pool house, and then once everything is done, then you come into the house. Like, you don't help me. And then Jennifer talks about how she was like, I feel like I'm an employee and he's my boss. And now when he comes home, he likes to tell me what I'm doing wrong. Whereas, and then he talks about, well, I work almost 24 hours a day. And she's like, okay, I'm an equal, not an employee. And I think that's the issue. That's why I like when people are saying that, like, oh, Jennifer wants Bill to be mean to the other women. I don't think she wants him to be mean. I think she just wants him to have her back, because she talks about, like, he's always silent. When he cheated, he was silent. When she accepted his apology, he was silent. When all of this stuff happened, he was silent. It's just kind of like she feels like she's out there on the battlefield by herself and no one's there to back her up. And it's like, I don't think Jennifer wants Bill to be like a nasty person to the women, but I definitely think she wants him to like stand beside her and be like, I got you. And he doesn't do that. And I would be the same way when last season Bill didn't say much of nothing when everyone was coming at Jennifer's neck about the infidelity. And it's like, you should say something. Have your wife's back. Just like validate her feelings right now. And he's not doing that. And Jennifer pretty much said, like, I'm getting to the point where I'm about to check out. And she was like, and if I check out, that's not good. And I believe that, because Bill might have, the ship running at the what's it called, the clinic, but at the house, if you want to come home and your house ain't in disarray and you have that peace that you have of you just walking past and going straight to the pool room, them kids gonna start knocking at your door, bro. So I hope they get it together, because I don't think she wants to leave him. I think Jennifer actually does care about Bill, and I think Bill cares about her. But then again, I hope he's not cheating, and I hope he's not like fully checked out. But I feel like she'll be okay if they get a divorce. Like, I feel like this show will keep her on, and she probably has enough money saved where she could chuck the deuces with him. But yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. Remember to be bravely authentic and hop down in them comments below. Deuces.